The journal on the right will have notes which you can write down in your journal. The chessboard has total of 64 squares. White has 16 and black has 16 pieces. On one side of the board you will see small alphabets. On the other side you will see numbers. The numbers are called ranks and the letters, the small alphabets, are called files. The black king stands on E8 square. The black queen will be on D8 square and two black bishops will be next to black queen and king, which are the F8 and C8 squares, and the black knight are next to black bishops, which are B8 and G8 squares. And finally, two black rooks are on the corner, which are H8 and A8 squares. The 8 black pawns will all be on the 7th rank. To set up the white pieces, the pieces go on the same letter, but the rank will be the first rank. All the white pawns will be on the second rank. Next, there are 6 different pieces and each pieces move in a different way. Let's start with the pawn. The pawn is a soldier in a chess game. Pawn is only worth 1 point. Even though the pawn is worth 1 point, don't underestimate it. If a pawn reaches the last rank, then it can become a queen, a rook, a bishop, or a knight. The last rank of black will be the first rank, and the last rank for the white will be the 8th rank. Create a T-chart in your journal, like the journal to the right. Make 4 columns and label them as piece, points, notation letter, and direction. Let's start with the pawn. The pawn moves forward 1 square, but if a pawn hasn't moved at all during the time in the game, it can move 2 squares only on its first move. The pawn cannot kill pieces that are in front of it. It can only kill pieces diagonally. So let's say there is a pawn on E7. This pawn will be able to move 2 squares since it hasn't moved before. Now the pawn is in E5. This is a pawn on D4, which can be diagonally killed, this E5 pawn. Next, we have the rook. The rook is worth 5 points and the rook moves side to side like this. And up and down like this. The rook cannot jump over pieces, so the rook will be more useful in the end game when there are few pieces on the board. Next we are going to talk about knight. Knight is spelled with K, not an N. Knight is worth 3 points and it jumps in L shape in 3 steps. If the knight was on this square, then it would move to all these squares highlighted in red. The knight is the only piece that can jump over other pieces in the game. Now, the bishop is worth 3 points. Bishop cannot jump over pieces, but it can move diagonally. So if the bishop was on this square, it can move to all of the squares highlighted in red. Next, we have the most powerful piece in the game. You guessed it right, the queen. The queen is worth 9 points. The queen can move like a rook and bishop combined. So if the queen was in this square, it can move to all of the squares highlighted in red. The queen cannot jump over pieces, but it is very valuable. Finally, The final piece that we want to talk about is the king. King can move one square at a time in any direction, which seems very bad. But don't underestimate the king either, because if you get checkmated, then you lose the game. Checkmate is when king cannot move to a safer square and the king is attacked by a piece that cannot be captured because it has protection. This is an example of a two-move checkmate. The king technically worth infinite points, since if you lose the king, you lose the game. The infinity symbol is just a sideways 8. So write k equals infinite symbol on your journal. Thank you.